Hello, readers, and welcome back to Tell Between Tales. Today, we are talking Jade City. This is a deep conversation. This script was pretty hard to write. There is a lot to love and a lot to hate and a lot to think about in this book. It is both fascinating and a little disturbing at the same time. And we're going to get into this book and talk about some of these themes and also keep it spoiler free to know if this is something that you might want to read or if this might be a book that you want to pass on, especially with how popular and how much recognition this book is getting. I feel like a lot of other reviewers are just talking about how amazing it is. And I kind of feel like it's been misclassified a little bit as an urban fantasy. It definitely has a lot of darker tones in it, and it almost might be like an urban grim dark fantasy. And that was something that I wasn't quite prepared for going into it because I was just expecting urban fantasy. But we're going to talk about why this book is so fascinating and a bit polarizing for me. So Jade City is one that I definitely got on my Kindle from the library, and currently I've got Jade Legacy on here that I have to finish up. So there's always something to read. But with Jade City, this is one of those books that I really wanted to love. The world building is absolutely incredible. Fonda Lee has done such a good job at creating a city and a culture that feels very alive and intricate and complex, with jade-based magic that's tied to martial arts and family honor and pride. This book explores the themes of legacy, loyalty, identity, generational expectations, and these themes are all deeply compelling and very relatable in a lot of ways. The use of jade for the magic system and the families or the clans controlling the society, running the city, manipulating the politics, and the mafia vibes of the clan and the family, and paying tribute to the clan, and how each clan has their own territory and businesses that they support, and the businesses in turn paying tribute to the clan, and in return the clan will provide services like protection and upholding the law, like the police, and they will also give out loans and favors to help businesses to expand or to grow, and they control who gets what contracts. This is all very fascinating and very well done. Within this clan, there is a fierce loyalty within this society and being a part of the clan, and it's a part of your identity. But this also can backfire and cause problems because if you are not wanting to be a part of the family business, or as we're following our main family who is leading this clan, we have some characters that kind of want to go outside of it, and they are very much shunned by their family, and that causes a lot of hurt and heartache. And also it causes a lot of identity crises. There are expectations placed on every person in this family as they have a legacy to protect. There are safe places where the family can go, and then there are enemy territories which are extremely dangerous to be found in. Jade is not only a source of magic in this book, but it is also an important part of the economy on Kekon, as Kekon is the only place in the world that jade can be found, and as a result, only specific people can wear jade. It's like biochemically active, and so only the people who are Kekonese can actually wear jade. And this makes them much more stronger and basically superior in every way as far as man to man, not including like outside technology. Even with gunfire, someone who is wearing jade can deflect the bullets away from themselves. And so this causes an extreme desire by other countries to have and possess and use jade. And so they've come up with a way to allow their own soldiers to be able to use the jade by this drug called SN1, or shine in the slang term. And that has a problem because it's very addictive and people will take shine just as a drug instead of actually using it for the purpose of wearing jade. And so there's this whole drug trade that's been built up around jade and the use of it because of that. And of course, there are these smuggling operations where people are trying to dip into the profits in that way by smuggling it out and selling it on the black market. Now, despite all of that fascinatingness and how well I feel like this book was written, this book was hard for me. It didn't quite land. At first, I thought it might be the pacing. It does take a while to get into the story, but I'm usually really, really good with slow burns, and I don't mind character-driven stories that take a while to get started. But what ultimately held me back, I think, is the tone of this story. This story is not just dark and gritty. It is relentlessly heavy. It's a world that seems to punish vulnerability and compassion and reward only power, control, and revenge. That can make for a very compelling drama, but for me, it also created an emotional distance that I couldn't quite overcome. The characters themselves were also a mixed bag. No one was particularly likable. I had trouble connecting with most of them. One exception, who's probably one of my favorite characters, was Wen, and she stood out as a quietly strong and resourceful figure. However, I wish that her introduction had done more justice to her as a character, because as she was introduced through a sex scene, that felt like more about Hilo's emotional state rather than about her. That kind of made it a little bit harder to fully invest from the start. What really drove home this book's emotional tone was how it handles the more hopeful characters, and it kind of dangles this hope in front of you and you say, oh, maybe, but then it takes it away. There is one character in particular who is calm and measured, and we have a sense of hope through him, and he seems like a potential moral compass for the story. However, the arc ends in a way that feels not just tragic, but emotionally deflating. It was a turning point for me when I realized that this book is not the book about overcoming and overthrowing a broken system. This is a book about what it takes to survive in one. Then we have Barrow, a young street-level character who's addicted to shine, which is the drug that makes jade accessible to those not born to handle it. His desperation, his obsession with jade, and his willingness to compromise everything for power. It's one of the grittiest and saddest threads in the story. Watching his descent added to that overwhelming sense of bleakness, especially since his choices feel driven by a system that's already failed him. Andon, on the other hand, is a character that I really wanted to see succeed. He's highly sensitive to jade, which is a legacy of his mixed heritage, and he's grappling with intense pressure to live up to the standards of his adopted family. His arc includes one of the few moments that felt like a victory, where it seems like hope, honor, and strength might actually win out. But even that moment is followed by emotional fallout that brings everything crashing back down. Without getting into spoilers, I'll just say that a part of this book that could have been an emotional triumph or a high of the book was immediately undercut by grief and fear, and left the story in a place that, rather than feeling cathartic, felt more despairing. So in the end, while I really admired what this book was doing thematically, and I can see why everybody really likes it, Jade City just wasn't for me. It was really hard, and it was really hard to read, and it was really dark and really depressing. I understand what this book is doing. It's painting a picture of legacy and loyalty in a morally complex world. But for me, it lacked the emotional warmth or a narrative balance, even when compared to Joe Abercrombie, who is a master of writing grimdark. His books and his works often seem a little bit more satirical, and with his humor being injected into it, it gives it just that little bit of lighthearted flair that this book is completely devoid of. The deeper I got into this book, the more I felt like I was in a world that only offered violence as a form of resolution. And I think that is appropriate for what she was doing with the world and the world that she created. It's just that I like to have a little bit of hope and silver lining, at least, in the fantasy that I read. If you enjoy complex political fantasy, morally gray characters, and a story that doesn't flinch from violence and heartbreak, you might find a lot to love here. But if, like me, you need a glimmer of warmth and redemption in your dark fantasy, you might find this one a little too emotionally heavy. And so those are my thoughts on Jade City. I'm really interested to hear what you think in response to those. I know that everybody has different tastes and different likes, and I would be interested to see if you think that this is something that you would like to pick up, or if you've already read it, what your thoughts on the story and the themes and the world that she created are. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Bye.